Welcome back to E-Erotic the brand. Hi, my name is Eden Middleman. I'm your favorite dating and sex coach here. And it's been a hot minute. We're going to get into it. Just a disclaimer, if you're watching me on YouTube, yes, I'm available on YouTube if you're listening to the podcast, anywhere you listen to podcasts. If my teeth start to get more and more yellow as this video progresses, because I made a turmeric latte, a golden latte, and I'm testing my ratios here, and I really do feel like I went overboard on the turmeric. So I'm just warning you. Anyways, let's get into this. This topic has been something I've been wanting to talk to you guys about for so long because it literally applies to all of your relationships, romantic specifically. I really do think it's important for us to know how both men and women fall in love because it is different. I've had this ongoing joke, and you'll understand why once we get into it. I used to always tell my fiance, the reason why you fell in love with me is because I stress you out a little in like a fun, playful way, or like I keep you sweating a little bit. And that's why you're obsessed with me. Like that's the joke that I say to him. And I've been like really meaning to get into this conversation. I love sharing this like really fun fact between my friends and family and my girls, you know, when they're out there dating and they're asking me for advice, or for some of you girls, the way men and women fall in love is very different. And you've experienced this as a woman or a man because you're like, what the fuck, right? Like you'll have moments where you're dating somebody, you're seeing somebody, or you slept with somebody and you're like, what's going on? Like, why am I feeling so different than you're feeling, right? There's always that moment of disconnect and you're like, okay, there's something I need to figure out or learn or reevaluate here. And if you feel like you've missed a piece of the puzzle, this might be it. This is so important to know. And I don't know why we don't speak about this in school. It's not just about how to get them to fall in love with you. This isn't a manipulative tactic because you really can't get around it. Different strokes for different folks. And if you fit that stroke for that folk, then you're good. You know what I mean? You can't fake it. But it is good information to kind of keep you thinking, wondering, and checking yourself. And I'm all about discipline and self-accountability here, as you guys know. And for me, the more you know, the better it is. And you can use that to your advantage. Okay, we're getting into this now. She's chatty. She's chatty today. It's the turmeric latte mixed with a little bit of caffeine because it's all I get being 7 months pregnant. All right. I want to talk to you guys about men first, because men, I love how men say like women are so complicated. Women are so complicated. Like, bitch, if you know anything about science, like you're the more complicated one. In certain situations, we're all very complicated, but men, when you fall in love, or the process of you bonding with somebody, you're creating an attraction or attachment to somebody, is always like a two-parter. Whereas for women, it's pretty much like, ooh, oxytocin, I feel good, I love him, is he my mate, could he be my mate? And then we just get blinded by all that bullshit, and we romanticize you guys. We romanticize the fuck out of you guys. So you really do have it easy when it comes to this. Like, women can fall in love with literally a toad. Like it's I'm so sorry, it's true. Ladies, you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm talking about. Yes, there's this new wave of women that are trying to be like emotionless, and those are very sad women. That's a different topic for a different time. Men fall in love, okay, and I'm using the word love loosely because I'm going to say more so attached, or, you know, build deep emotional connections with women or men or whatever based off of these two brain responses, okay, chemicals and hormones. Oxytocin, which we know as the love hormone, and this is the reason why women fall in love and get attached to men. Okay, it's pretty simple. Oxytocin and vasopressin for men need to connect. This is at certain points in time in getting to know somebody. It requires withholding certain sexual activities. I mean, it's pretty interesting how and why men fall in love or get attached to certain women. Sometimes as an outsider, and this is going to sound extremely shallow of me, but we've all done it, okay? So don't even act holier than thou, please. We'll sit there and we'll be like, how the is he into her? Like, how does that make sense? Like, I don't see what he sees, or I don't see what she sees. Like, it's their brains. Like, we don't know what's going on up here. It has nothing to do with the outside appearance per se, or, you know, is she good in bed, or her boobs or her butt or whatever the hell you guys think. It literally has nothing to do with that. It's just how you make them feel. And that's a lot of times out of your control. It's really based off of these two hormones and why they become suddenly so protective and they suddenly want to commit to this one woman, you know? There's a certain harmony that happens in the brain. And so we're going to talk about that. When you first meet somebody, obviously there has to be some sort of like dopamine release, some sort of excitement. And that's sort of the pleasure chemical in the brain, right? When you experience something enjoyable, when you're around somebody that's fun or, you know, makes you feel some type of way, that's dopamine, excitement, you know, oh my God. So that's when, you know, when you're first interested, your dopamine levels start to rise. Spending time together, bonding, physical touch, Oxytocin is also released and rises. Sex is a different topic of conversation. We'll get into that. It really takes high vasopressin levels for a man to really commit and fall in love, as they say, to this one woman. I call vasopressin the stress hormone, but a lot of people will call it the bonding hormone when it comes to talking about love. I love calling it the stress hormone just for the dramatic effect that it has and just to play it up and be fun. Vasopressin basically released directly into the brain from the hypothalamus, and it plays a really big role on social behavior and sexual motivation in a man. This is what makes a man pick one woman, choose her, be protective over her, and actually try and eliminate other mates, right? So push her away from other mates, keep her to himself, protect her, create that provider mentality, a bit of that, and I'm going to use this word lightly, a bit of that enhanced aggression and a bit of anxiety. Like, this is my woman, this is my person. That is full commitment, longevity, long-term. They want you, they want to be with you. They've picked you, and they will also essentially tell other women to fuck off or not feel comfortable around other women, even if they're offering them like sex or something, because they've already gotten to that point where they've created that bond. Their brain has already been like, this is your woman. And this is sort of that instinctual nature that comes in. So I really do laugh at men that say, you know, it's in their nature to spread their seed and some next level bullshit, because there's a part of your brain that really doesn't want that wants to pick one woman for yourself and will even like be uninterested in other women. And that's when you really have picked your person. That's when you've really found the one to you, for you in that moment. Now, how do you release vasopressin? It's released during stress. So oxytocin is a love hormone. It's you know, good feelings. It's released during sex as well. We'll get into that again. I don't want to tell you guys that sex is the way to go. It really is not the way to a man's heart. It's actually opposite. And for a woman, it is a way to her heart, which is crazy. So you guys out here being like, oh, men just want to fuck. Men just want to fuck. Actually, women and fucking is more their thing. You know, it's kind of interesting in this situation. Okay. Obviously. Now, the reason why men are not like horny dogs or whatever when they start to commit to a woman and why they can control that is because testosterone levels actually kind of dip at this point when he makes a commitment to a woman. Okay. The testosterone dips, allowing oxytocin and vasopressin to connect. So when a man creates that commitment and is about to create that like internal brain bond, okay, let's say, it's really hard to talk like casually and cool about this when there's a lot of science behind this, so just bear with me. When testosterone dips, that's when oxytocin and vasopressin can connect. When testosterone's like up through the fucking roof, you're gonna see a guy that's like really out here trying to just fuck around. This really amped up version of a man, right, is what we assume testosterone does to a man, and there is some truth to that to a degree. So just keep that in mind. That's a really interesting thing that I've found out and that I've learned through coaching and just finding these similarities and then understanding the science behind it. There's so many interesting articles and studies done about men and women. So I would say if you have the time and you want to, go and research this further. It's really interesting. We're going to talk about sex really quickly for men, okay? The funny thing about sex with men is that we think that that's like the key to their heart. It's not. And I'm talking like long-term bonding, long-term connection, like long-term relationship, love. Sex is not it. Okay? And I know you ladies are too busy trying to be a sex goddess in the bedroom to get him pussy whipped. But pussy whipped versus in love is very different. Pussy whipped, he'll look at you as like a fun time, not a long time kind of gal. And he could never then afterwards see you as somebody he wants to be with long term. For men, it actually takes months of a relationship with a woman without sexual activity. That's blowjob, hand job, rubbing up and down on each other, whatever the fuck, okay? For vasopressin levels to build up. So for you men to actually fall in love with a woman, sexual activity is not in your favor. It is, however, in the favor of oxytocin, which is the love hormone. But for you guys, when you orgasm, It's more so the dopamine that spikes rather than oxytocin. Oxytocin is still present, don't get me wrong, but for women, oxytocin levels are substantially higher, making them fall in love after sex, whereas men don't. Men just get this pleasure. So the dopamine is like a pleasure, like a reward hormone, right? It's like, okay, great, I benefited from this, it feels good, and it dies down for them. Women, our oxytocin levels spike and kind of continue even post-orgasm, making us feel like maybe this is our person, maybe we are in love, maybe this is more than just a fuck. But men don't think like that. Men don't feel that way, right? So post-nut clarity too, that's why you'll see it looks very different for a lot of women and a lot of men. And that is why you have to understand that and be able to respect one another's post-nut clarity, which is, I think, a really important thing, because sometimes if you don't, you're going to take it to heart that he's not giving you affection or attention, but really he's just cooling off, and maybe this isn't what he really wanted, or this isn't, the deal. Not to say that it's okay for them to be disrespectful and cold to you. Absolutely not. Again, that takes discipline in your mind, because if we're just going on based off how we feel, yes, we're going to act pretty ruthlessly and irrationally, right? Because it's all just emotion driven, chemically driven. We're not really putting thought and like stopping ourselves and wondering, okay, maybe I shouldn't do that, or maybe that's not kind to the other person. We're not factoring in somebody else. We're only factoring in ourselves. And I can draw upon my personal experiences. I was never the girl, and there's been clips of me saying, that I don't really think like we should withhold sex. And this was like a few years ago, because like, what if you don't have sexual chemistry? What is the point in like me like wasting my time as a woman as well? Like, I'm not trying to play the game of like, ooh, withhold it and then give it to him, and then he just walks away because he got what he wanted. Like, he'll wait 100 dates if he wants to, because he loves the game and loves the chase. And like, that was my thought process for so long. And while I do believe that that does have some sort of merit to it, the reality is, in practice, you not giving it up all at once keeps a man interested. It sparks his interest, because nowadays, especially, women are out here thinking it's sexual empowerment and female empowerment to throw their vaginas all over the fucking place, but you're just ruining your value as a woman. That's true. And I hate saying that, because like, why isn't the same for a man? I do believe it lowers their value. And there have been many men that, have shown how, too much sex or too much meaningless sex actually fucks up the man's brain. They're less likely to be successful, less likely to be productive. Like, there's so many studies done on that as well, which again is worth looking into, but it's not looked upon socially the same way. Do I agree with it? No. Is it the way things are? Yeah. Am I going to change it by saying I'm going to go do total opposite with hopes of balancing the spectrum out? No, because I'm not going to throw my body to a bunch of losers that don't deserve it. And you know how I know they don't deserve it? Because I don't fucking know them, right? And men should also have a certain standard. I applaud men that have sex with women who are of a certain caliber, or, have their shit together, or like don't actually pride themselves in saying, oh, I fucked 100 women. They're not interested in getting to a number. They find it childish and immature. That's hot. That's a man, right? That's a man with self-control. That means that he can control himself in that part of his life, but in so many other areas. And that will lead to a more successful man, a more high-valued man for most women and for the world in general. And this also plays into the scientific fact of, hey, women, you're more likely to put yourself in a position where you might, have like a pseudo love affair or like an obsession with a man that's really not that great, just because you slept with him or because he keeps coming back for more and you're allowing it. You think he likes you. You're getting the wrong idea, because you don't know how the man's brain works and how the female's brain works. You're going to get your heart broken, because that's how we fall in love. When we feel cuddly and lovey and physical affection and attention, we start to think that, oh my God, this is love. But it's not, because the man is not doing this because he feels the same way. He's doing this because it feels good for him sexually, and because his reward hormone is, going ding, 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 yay, great. But then after, he doesn't give a fuck, right? Like, he won't commit to you, because vasopressin, the levels are not high enough to connect with oxytocin. And that is purely because you have had sex right off the bat, right off the gate. Now, does that mean that is true in every situation? No. I have had sex with people earlier on and have ended up in long-term relationships with them. However, did I end up with a ring on my finger with that man? No. The man that I'm currently with, actually, TMI, I did not sleep with him right away. And that wasn't because I was playing a game. I honestly didn't even take him seriously at the beginning. And me and him both, I don't think we thought that this would ever be what it is now, okay? Which is kind of like the beauty of it all. We went on a few dates. We did not do anything. And then he just so happened to have to go on a work trip for a while, and that kept us apart. And he maintained communication. He constantly spoke to me, constantly updated me. Like he wanted to do that. He wanted to check in on me. You know, he was pressed about it. And the stress of us not being together, the stress of me possibly seeing other people, the stress of me like not like throwing myself sexually onto him probably helped raise those vasopressin levels. Shortly after, we did have sex, and he already wanted to continue to see me and commit to me. Okay. So that was all his doing. And I didn't even know that I was doing anything, or I was playing a part in him falling for me. Yes, my personality and our personalities, they jive well. There's so many other elements, obviously, to bonding and being in a relationship and creating that connection. Don't get me wrong. I'm not just bringing it down to these two brain chemicals in a man's brain, but it is really fucking interesting. So how do you release vasopressin in a male? Many situations, like if we're talking in general, like high stress situations for the body, restricting water, like standing exercise sauna, like things like that. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about you and him. They say that vasopressin levels are boosted when you spend quality time with one another. So like finding something that is bonding between the two of you, sharing experiences and providing support throughout to the man. Oftentimes guys feel like they need to do that for the woman, and it's not to say that they don't. They absolutely do. But it is even more important for a man, and he might not want to do that right off the bat, but that is what it takes, right? When there is the opportunity to spend quality time with him, when you can share experiences with him and do things with him, providing him some form of support, or like showing him that you got him in a way. This can all be done in a very lighthearted way, especially at the beginning of a relationship, but that is said to help boost vasopressin. Here's the thing though, ladies, if there's just no click, there just is no click. Okay. So like this is not, like I said, a cheat code or manipulation tactic. This information is beneficial, but also like you cannot control a man's fucking brain function. You can know about it, and you can understand a man better this way, and you can understand why certain people say withhold sex, or why people say, you know, men have less respect for women that have so much sex. It does all in all like make sense in a scientific way when we look at our brain functions, and especially how men bond and the type of woman they want to bond with, and what needs to be done for that to be present in their brain at the right time. And so it is just interesting to know. So don't take this the wrong way, but it is something to keep in mind. I like to stress my man a little bit. And like, this is going to sound ridiculous, but and not intentionally, like I'm not out here trying to stress my man, but like I'm not an easy breezy like girl. Okay. I've never been easy breezy, and I don't really want to be like the cool girl, the easy girl, like the chill girl. And I think that's where you girls have got it wrong. Guys actually don't really find that super attractive. You end up being a bro, and a man doesn't want to date a fucking bro, or else he would just fuck his own friends. You understand? So that's just what it comes down to. He needs a bit of that woman that keeps him a little bit stressed and pressed, keeps him on his toes. And it's not done through playing games. It's just done because she has so many other things feeding her, and not other men, but other things feeding her. Like she's on her own 2 feet. She can do shit on her own. She's educated. She's got like qualities to her that make her multifaceted, that makes him a little bit pressed and stressed, and makes him feel like he needs to come correct to her in order to be with her. Having that certain stress of like needing to prove yourself from a man is crazy. It's large because they're very ego driven, right? Most humans are, but men in particular, them and their ego, it is a big deal. And you'll be able to see that because ask a man to apologize. You know, a lot of times it's just so fucking hard for them. They really need it to be black and white for them to be like, yeah, okay, I understand why I'm apologizing. Them and their ego go hand in hand. It is part of their entire identity a lot of times. And so just knowing that and not looking at it in a negative way, but being like, okay, if a man is able to respect me and sweat a little bit for me and wants to put an effort naturally for me without me having to tell him, we're on the right path here. And how do you become that girl? A lot of guys find the girls that have their own shit together attractive. Okay, that you don't need him, but you choose to spend time with him. That's an honor. Don't you rather feel that way instead of being, oh, I need you, or like whatever, using you? You're chosen, right? As a woman, that feels better. So that's where we can all agree that that's where we want to be. okay, with one another. That's how we want to be viewed. We don't want to use and abuse each other. We want to be respected and loved and wanted and appreciated, right? And again, then this goes for men's love language, which oftentimes is just they want to feel respected, they want to feel heard. And women, it's more, I feel you. Be affectionate to her, be softer with her, be delicate with her, do things for her. Provider mentality. That's the type of things that a lot of women want and crave if they're in their healthy feminine and if this man is in their healthy masculine. So that's where all these other concepts come and tack on. But this is the fundamentals. This is the foundations. This really just aligns with everything that we've been talking about for so long on this channel and that you've probably seen on your fucking TikTok feed from like kids that don't know what they're talking about. Nonetheless, they've read a book about it. And so they're just regurgitating all of this information to you. You guys know that's my favorite word. Okay, so let's talk about women. We're like basic bitches, okay? Like if you fuck us and like we feel good about it, and you're like acting nice to us, we'll fall in love with you. Like, I'm so sorry. I'm making women sound like dumb idiots, but like based off of the science, that's how it makes us seem. Are we? No. Am I? No. Do I think most women are like that? No. I think women are a lot smarter and have gotten a lot smarter than that and are able to be like, okay, like maybe I'm going to be a little bit more picky choosy with who I fuck. And like for those girls, you're winning. For the girls that are not picky choosy, I'm so sorry. Like most men don't want a woman that other men can have or have had, right? If you're like the known school hoe, yeah, they'll give you attention because they want to try you out because you're giving freebies out. You know what I mean? Like, why not? Like, everyone wants something that's free. Like, why not, right? For us, it's why not? But we don't think of the long-term effects. So if it's just like free all the time, like if people were handing out free candy all the time, it's not that attractive anymore. It's not that exciting anymore. I can have it for free. I can have it whenever I want. So, you know what I mean? Where everyone has had that. That's not cool anymore, right? That trend everyone looks like or is doing or whatever. Don't want that anymore. So it is part of human psychology 101. Both men and women can agree with this. So ladies, keep that in mind. Okay, back to oxytocin. It's all about physical intimacy and bonding activities. And physical intimacy, yes, okay, sex, whatever, but like touching, okay? Holding hands, petting her hair, little massages, soft grazes. Bonding experiences look like cuddling, okay, talking, someone giving her undivided attention, like you really looking at her when she's talking and like really being engaged in conversation makes her feel good. And that is very bonding to both of you if you're being genuine, but to her. And that releases oxytocin. We fall in love faster normally. And oxytocin, with that release, it fosters sort of a feeling of trust and affection, whether it's real or not. That's what it's giving us, right? And this is how our bonding process works. It's very direct. So not to say that if you fuck a girl, she's going to fall in love with you necessarily, but a lot of times we do start to look at them in a different light. So it's not as dramatic as, great, I had an orgasm and now I'm like, oh my God, I'm in love and obsessed. No, it's, could he be like a good guy? Like, could he be? I think so. Like, maybe I'll give him another shot, or maybe I'll go on a few dates with him. Like, that's us leaning into that. Okay. That's what's driving us. If we took that away, we'd be like, nah, it's okay. Nah, whatever. I don't really want to bother. No, really, nah, not. And that's how men usually react post-sex, right? I got what I wanted. Don't really need to try that hard now. Well, because I already did it. So ding, ding, ding. I got what I wanted. I go home with my reward, and I can sleep well at night. Like, now there's not much more I can talk about when it comes to women. It's pretty simple. Everything else though, like why not every woman is like that or falls head over heels, is because she's learned and she has another lens that she digests these situations through. So she's a little bit more thoughtful before she has sex. She might mentally prepare herself, or she might not have sex as often or with different types of men. She will stick to one man or reward him that when she feels like she can trust him or feels comfortable with him through other bonding experiences other than sex or anything that has to do with physical intimacy. She might need that. And so that's how we bond. And then once we get to a point where we feel like there is that connection or trust, then we open that extra layer and then we allow ourselves to fall deeper into this connection or love or whatever the fuck you want to call it. When we have sex at orgasm, we are flooded with oxytocin, which that's where the bond usually happens. Now, men, you have a rise in dopamine, but they're less likely to experience such a spike in oxytocin, and that's why they're less likely to bond. okay, through sex. Just to give you guys a bit of a reality check, that doesn't mean that you should withhold sex. I mean, do what you feel is comfortable. Build your own set of guidelines and rules for yourself. When it comes to dating, for me, I never withheld sex. I listened to myself. I knew it was an energy transfer, so I like to vet most of the people I had sex with. Truthfully, yeah, were there one or two that I was like, could have gone without that? Probably. But you know, when you're young, you live, you learn, you grow out of that. And so every other person that I've ever slept with, which is, by the way, and I've said this before and you don't want to believe, and that's fine, is not as much as you might think. But I never believed in like withholding that because I don't have any sort of religious beliefs or traditional beliefs on that. I just believe that I have to be smart and pick and choose who I'm ready to have sex with or who I want to have sex with. And it's not just with somebody that has a pretty face. Trust me, it's just not for me. I don't really care. It's not worth it. Usually women, and there's been a study done, most women actually do not orgasm at all with casual sex. They fake it till they fucking make it. They hope they make it. Sometimes they usually don't. So for me, it's just not worth it. Like, I can do a better job for myself on my own than with some random, okay? Some dirty, old, smelly random. I'm just not interested. So, you know, you just have to have your morals and values aligned. You have to have enough trust within yourself. Now, a lot of girls put these rules down because they cannot trust themselves, I believe, and they've gotten themselves into sticky situations. And again, there's nothing wrong with having those boundaries or those guidelines or those rules. I love living by certain rules because I can always lean back on them if I'm uncertain or if I feel like my emotions are clouding my judgment. It's always good to have those certain rules. Now, the 3-date rule, I don't really like, everyone knows about that 3-date rule. Guys will go on 3 pathetic dates just to get to that finish point, just to see what it's like. Like, it's just curiosity that killed the cat. So I don't really know if all those rules make sense. I just think you have to listen to yourself, go on enough dates, spend enough time with this person to feel comfortable and like see them in other different situations and different lights before you do that. If I could go back in time, I would make a man fucking climb walls, do you know what I mean, before he would sleep with me. But that's now me, more mature, you know, I've aged, I've grown up, I've gone through a lot. I'm now engaged with a baby on the way. Like, there's a lot of things that has changed in my life, and I wouldn't waste my time for like shits and giggles, you know, now. But before, I think I wanted to experience some shits and giggles. So again, guys, that's not to say that you withholding sex is going to make a man fall in love with you, or, you know, whatever. At the end of the day, you can't control this person, what the science says versus this person. I mean, yes, it's good to know, but again, there's so much more tacked on to a person. There's so much more involved in the equation of connection and romance that I don't want you to think that it's just this. Okay, there's a lot more to it. So use your fucking brain cells. Thank you. If you want any more videos like this about anything else specifically, please leave them in the comments below. I do get through most of your requests. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed. And if you're watching the podcast, give it 5 large and in charge stars. It really does help me out so very much and allows me to continue doing this for you guys. And if you don't mind, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's a really fun place to be. We've got a lot of great people on here, a really good community. I love seeing your guys' names, and I'm starting to recognize more and more of them, and I just appreciate the support and you guys hanging in there while I've been taking some time to myself, going through a not so fun pregnancy. And so it's just been physically difficult for me to film and have the energy to do so, but I appreciate you guys sticking around, and there will be more, and things will get a little bit more balanced very soon. So just stay tuned, and I'll see you back here soon. Bye.